Welcome, everybody, to the Channel Vision Magazine webinar featuring PacketFabric, which is going to share with us how to automate cloud infrastructure with the PacketFabric Terraform Provider. I'm your moderator, Bruce Christian, Senior Editor of Channel Vision Magazine. Our presenters are Roman Juhanit, Senior Technical Product Manager at PacketFabric, and Michael Glickman, Chief of Business Development at PacketFabric. With that, take it away, Michael.
Thanks, Bruce, and welcome to you all. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. My name is Michael Glickman. I lead business development at PacketFabric. And before I hand it over to Roman and he can get into some of the really exciting news we have on Terraform support, I thought I would just give you an overview of the company. And I also know that there are quite a few of you that are resellers or channel partners that have interest in taking our services into market to your customers. And I wanted to give you some exciting examples of what we're doing in that space, and hopefully get you to follow up with us to find out how to go do so. So why don't we get off? Roman, if you want to go to the first slide. So let me talk about the company. Go ahead to the next one. Just to give you an overview of the company. So you can read through this quickly because it gives a good snapshot of the premise of the company. But just quickly, we started a few years back. Our two co-founders who are still with the company, Anna Claiborne and Jezebel Gilmore, they started the company really with the premise of how do we do for the network what the cloud providers have done for servers and storage. How do we provide network connectivity with the same kind of cloud economics as a service, right? With the agility and the flexibility that you would expect as you're procuring cloud services from those entities. And we wanted to do it, though, in a way where you didn't have to give up, though, the network availability and the stability of the network that you're used to buying from a legacy network provider. So that's the trick, right? How do you actually give that kind of agility and flexibility, but still provide the type of user experience that you, the customer, have expected over the years, as far as very, very high network availability and running your mission critical applications. So that was basically the premise of the company and how we started it. For us to do that, we had to build our own network, right? And I want to be clear, this is PacketFabric owns and operates our own network that operates around the world, providing these connectivity services to our customers and through our partners. So it was a big initiative to get that built. We're still building out every day to expand on a worldwide basis. But that was the premise of the company. Next slide. So why did we do this? What was happening in the marketplace that really kind of pushed us to make this investment, and why do we think it's really important in this day and age? Well, so first off, as we all know, all companies are digitizing their environment. That really kind of pushes them to not only move applications into cloud environments or outside of their data centers and firewalls. It also has many companies utilizing as a service companies, software as a service companies. And they, as they start to do that, and as you start to do that, it really becomes incredibly difficult to actually connect to those resources and keep connected, keep your customers connected to those resources, keep your employees connected to those resources, keep those resources connected to each other without a much more agile and flexible network. And so we really thought that trend was really going to push companies towards needing what we call network as a service enabled by a software-defined network. You then add what has happened over the last few years, really, driven by the pandemic, which is now hybrid work. And we see a whole bunch of changes in the makeup of where customers are putting their workloads, right? If you're starting to shut down brick and mortar facilities to a certain extent, or right sizing them for hybrid work, we have a lot of companies and customers that are now moving their applications even more into multi-tenant data centers, as I said, SaaS, as well as into the public cloud. So all of that together just really necessitates that kind of agility and flexibility. And again, marrying that with the kind of network availability that we have is the emphasis of PacketFabric. Next slide. So what do we offer? Here's a list of some of our services. I'm highlighting our layer 2 services, point-to-point, connecting any points either in a metro or long haul, getting to any of the public cloud providers, and you see a list on the right. We operate pretty much in all the major cloud providers. And then to partners, right? SaaS providers or X as a service providers on our marketplace. We have a huge marketplace partnership, and anybody that shows up on that marketplace means that we're connected to those entities and can provide the kind of agile connectivity to those assets that you need at very high speeds with very high network availability. We operate out of over 300 locations. Typically, our location for us would be a multi-tenant data center, like an Equinix or CoreSite. You see Digital Realty, Sextera, QTS. I mean, we're in practically every single data center operator in these geographies. And so we do that in order to get closer to the enterprise customers who reside in those data centers, to be able to provide the connectivity again between there and whatever assets they want to get to, cloud, SaaS, et cetera. So this is the infrastructure that we operate in. And again, all of these services, the whole premise of the company was automate everything, right? So you would come on to our portal, and you'll see some of this when Roman does the demo. You come onto our portal, and you're able to self-serve yourself onto these services. We have full transparency of our pricing on our website. You then get the service provisioned in a very agile way. You get access to the management of those services once you have them in place. And then, of course, you have the flexibility of buying those services as a service the way you want. Next slide. So let me just touch on our partnerships a bit, because we really are very partner forward and partner first in our approach to how we serve the marketplace. We have many types of partners that resell our services as part of their value proposition, or just resell them to their customers as part of their portfolio. We have many managed service providers around the world that are reselling our services, but I want to highlight a couple of pretty interesting ones that might get you stimulated on some of the things that you might be able to do with our services as well. You may know SATA. SATA is Google Cloud's largest reseller and systems integrator, and we work with them on what I would call kind of complex cloud deployments. Here's a great example, a Neustar, a joint customer of ours, who needed to migrate over 30 petabytes of data. It's amazing to say that, petabytes of data. It's an enormous amount of data. And typically, to be able to do that, if you just try to do that over the top of the internet, you would that process would probably take you well over a year to be able to get all of that data moved from one space to another. We were able to do that in less than half the time, and we were actually able to save significant amounts of dollars in network costs that you would normally have if you utilized that over the top of the internet versus a private implementation through us. So a great example of the types of things we can do with our network on what I would call complex cloud data migrations. And you think about hybrid cloud, you think about the fact that Gartner says 92% of all customers will be in a multi-cloud environment, thereby using at least two public cloud providers. This is just getting going in our industry, and I think it's going to be a huge opportunity for all of us to work together to solve that for those customers. Another great set of partners we have are data center operators. I'm just highlighting one here with Cyxtera. Not only do we provide the ability for them to get their customers to other cloud and SaaS based services, they also sell bare metal services and cloud storage services out of their facilities. And we have been able to work a great set of services that enable those customers to not only connect where they're connecting their data centers to a Cyxtera facility in a hybrid cloud environment, but also in data migration, right? Moving huge pools of data from, let's say, an on-prem data center into a Cyxtera data center. So two great examples. We have many, many more. And I'd love to follow up with you after this session, if you have an interest to try to figure out how to take our assets, marry them with your assets, and take those to market. With that, I will hand it over to Roman.
All right, thank you, Michael, for this great introduction. So yeah, here's Roman. I'm part of the product team here at PacketFabric. And I will start with a few slides and I'll show you kind of a demo I prepared this morning for you. So let's start with what is Terraform. So Terraform is a HashiCorp open source tool that enables you to predictably create, change, improve your infrastructure as code. So the idea is you can define, both cloud or on-prem resources in a human readable configuration file that you can version, reuse, and share. So, PacketFabric has created its own Terraform provider, and that's what we're going to see a bit more in details today, which will allow our customer to access, manage, and deploy the network resources PacketFabric offers with minimum effort and, time from the engineering team. So before moving further, let's talk a little bit about why using Terraform, right? So I kind of tried to summarize in that slide, the essential three things. So Terraform will help you to save time, first of all, enabling you to use automations. Time, of course, when you save time, you save money, and also do more with less. So let me give you a few things to illustrate those points. So you can easily integrate Terraform in a CI/CD pipeline and automate the management of your infrastructure. That's kind of the first point. And because the configuration, and you're going to see that, after when I'm going to go a bit more into details, the configuration is written in flat file, right? So you can commit those files and version those files in a, source control platform like GitHub or GitLab. And essentially manage workflows across teams, which make it very easy to collaborate, right? If you're familiar with, with Git, for example. Also, you don't need to understand every single APIs for every single providers or vendors, you may use. You don't have to worry about the API change because Terraform abstract that, right? And manage, it's all managed within the Terraform provider. So you can easily define many providers, including the new PacketFabric provider we just released a few months ago. But you can find many other ones. There is pretty much over 1,000 providers, including AWS, Google, and so on. So moving on, how does it work? So first of all, essentially, you need somebody to write the Terraform config, right? This is like the language used. It's something called HCL for HashiCorp configuration language. It's essentially a language which is declarative, and the idea with this language is to describe the goal, not like the steps, to do that goal. And I'll show you some snippet of code to illustrate that concept. So the code can be stored on a Git, as I mentioned earlier, and the whole idea is to execute that code using Terraform. And you can do it locally on your laptop. You don't have to, run that code part of CI/CD pipeline. And then eventually the code is tested and then executed, and then Terraform will translate the HCL into API calls from each providers, using the config file, and then deploy the resources. Here, I'm showing different examples. We have, PacketFabric, but also Azure and so on, and then deploy the resources on the provider. So let me show you a bit more in details. So these are kind of the steps, the main steps you need to know. Like I said, you first need to start to write your HCL configuration. So you can use any IDE. I personally use VS Code. I find it very easy to use, but you can use whatever code editor you like. And then you create what we call a Terraform config file. You've got .tf and the main and the variables. We'll get a little more in details after. So first of all, write your infrastructure, and then there is really mainly 4 different commands you need to know. So the first one is Terraform init, which will be essentially used to download the different providers you configured and set up in your config files. The Terraform plan will enable you to review the change without making the change. So it's a good command to verify essentially, right, your config and kind of see a preview of what you're going to be creating. And then finally, the Terraform apply speaks by itself to essentially deploy all the resources you have set up, and then the destroy if you want to roll back and remove everything you created. So like I said earlier, there is over 1,000 providers on the registry. It's incredible. All right, moving on. I've got a snippet of code to kind of illustrate, how it works for those maybe of you who are not very familiar with it, and kind of show you the ease of use. So here's the first thing you need to do is to declare and configure your provider. So here in that example, we have the PacketFabric provider. So you need to define the name of that provider. So here we have PacketFabric, but also the versions. Here I put as an example version 0.2.1, and essentially like the equal and sign means like anything. It will pick up anything, any version which is more than that version. But you can also lock it to a specific version. And then the provider section, it is the same for any other providers. It's mostly like about authentication. So here we set up the token and of course the host, which will be the API endpoint. Terraform will be reaching to create all the different, to communicate with PacketFabric, right? All right, so here's a simple example of how to create a port, in our platform. So we're going to use a resource called PacketFabric port. So, as I mentioned earlier, it's very easy to understand and easy to read. And then you have to name that resource here. So here I just call it port 1 for the demo. And you can see here all the different definition of that port, where you want to create it. So here, in that example, I'm creating a port in Portland, PDX, the zone A, the type of port, we want to use, the speed, and so on. And just to show you best practice is essentially like, instead of putting the value of those different variables, attributes within your config file, it's good practice to separate those, right? You have your main Terraform config file, which you can reuse with different set of variables. Let's say if you want to create, a port on the East Coast and a port on the West Coast in your platform, you can use the same, Terraform config, HCL config, and, 2 different variable files. So it helps you to standardize and make sure, you create, things, the way they should always, the way they should be. Let me show you another type of function Terraform provide. So the previous one was to create, right? Create, delete, update, objects in a platform. And here is to get data out of it. So it's called a data source. So you really have those 2 things, resources and data sources. So for the data source, very similar, you use the keyword data in order to say you're gonna use a data source, and then the name of that data source. Here I use for the example PacketFabric billing and the name of it. And essentially we'll do a get on that on the platform to get the billing information in our example and display it to the user and save that as an output file. And there is many more. All right, I told you it was not going to be too many slides, so I'll show you the demo I prepared this morning. So essentially what I'll do here, I'm going to give you an example of how to create a VPC in Google Cloud along with the Google router, as well as a VLAN attachment, which is interconnect used to do the partner connection with a partner, in your case, PacketFabric. And at the same time, in the same config file, I'll be creating a source port, which will essentially enable you to connect to PacketFabric, and then do the connection to the Google VPC, we have created in Google. So, all right, so I'm gonna stop sharing this and move to the demo. So before going through the demo, I just want to show you how, I don't want to show you how to vote. I just want to show you how easy it is to find, the doc. So you need to type PacketFabric and then Terraform. And it's essentially the first link. You don't have to go further. And here you end up on the Terraform Registry, which is essentially where you want to be to start your journey with Terraform and PacketFabric, or with Terraform in general, because this is where you can find examples and details on how to use each providers available in the registry. So here we have obviously an overview, telling you the latest version available. And then under documentations, explaining you how to use, the provider, and then you have the list of resources and data sources. So remember what I mentioned earlier, create the object or get information. So one of those 2 different things, and then you can, search very easily. So here I'll just show you one. I'm not going to go through all of those, but you can here, get the example to create a port and give you all the details for each attribute and so on. And before I move to to actually showing you how to create that port easily, we also added references to our amazing documentations, which will also help you to understand maybe some of the concept or some more details on some of those resources available on the registry. So here I'm just showing you the page telling you about ports, so you can learn everything about ports. And all the different services PacketFabric offers. And just to finish on the doc, we also have a Terraform page on the doc, which has a lot of links. So, I just want to show you that, so you can maybe go after if you're interested to learn a little bit more about it. All right, let's go through, show you what I did this morning. So I'm using, I'm not running Terraform on my laptop. I'm using Terraform Cloud, which is pretty neat because it allows you to essentially connect a GitHub repository and their Terraform Cloud, their offerings they have. And you can essentially run, plan, do all the Terraform execution on their platform. And it's truly like a PLC using a CI/CD pipeline type of fashion. So here I already created a workspace PacketFabric PM demo, and just to kind of explain you what you see on the screen. So on the menu on the left side, you have like an overview, kind of give you a snapshot of the last run, the last execution of the Terraform plan. And then you have like runs, state, variable settings. And before I go a little more into the runs I did this morning. I want to show you the settings because this is where you'll have to start. So in the settings, this is where you can specify a folder, for example, in your Git repository or even a branch. And what I want to show you after as well is the variables because you will need to set up the authentication to the PacketFabric platform as well as Google, right? So the way you can do is essentially set up variables using the tf_var_ and then the name of the variable, and you set that up in that space under variables, and you can check an option which tells Terraform Cloud the value is sensitive, so it doesn't show in the logs and so on and so on. So you see here, I did set up 4 variables which are being used in my configuration. So let's go back to here and maybe before I show you that an example of a run I did, let me show you an example of the config file which I use for the demo. So like I mentioned, here I define the 2 provider I'm using, so the PacketFabric Terraform Provider as well as a Google one. And here, this is where I defined the credential, all the creation of the VPC in Google, the subnet, the cloud router. As you can see, it's very simple because you can write in your IDE what you want and use the doc to write that out. So just scrolling down, showing you the example I already show you to create the ports and the connection to Google. So what I did essentially, I uploaded that code in this GitHub repository under webinar branch under the Terraform Cloud demo. So those 2 files I was showing you earlier in my IDE are essentially here on the GitHub. And then right before the webinar, I did a commit. So I made some change. I commit my code, and you don't have to use a Git on the CLI. You can also do that on the web UI on GitHub, and then push the update on the GitHub repository. And what happened here? It triggered a run. And let me show you a little more in details how the run is structured. So if you remember the slide where I had plan and then apply, so it's the same here. You've got 2 steps. So Terraform Cloud will initially do a Terraform plan, which will give you kind of a list of the different resources you created, and then give you the output as well if you have any output. And if there is something failing in that plan, you won't execute it. So you can, look at the error and maybe fix your code and then do another push, and then you will, do another run, and then that's how kind of you iterate and get your configuration correct. And if the plan is successful, you can move to, it will move automatically, but you can also have it manually set up in a way you have to have somebody clicking approve, so you can enable, reviewing any deployments. And here's just to show you the apply is done. So, so what that did, when I'm showing you on the screen, creating the PacketFabric port and then the PacketFabric hosted connection. If I log in under this PacketFabric demo account I have here, for those who are not familiar, here's the first page when you log into the portal. This is where you can manage and create and deploy all the services PacketFabric offers, the one Michael talked about a little earlier. We're talking about virtual circuit, point-to-point, hosted cloud, and so on. So from here, I'll just show you the port I created. So here I've got this port demo webinar created on the West Coast, and then the other update I created is a hosted cloud. So which is essentially we're using a port which is already connected, a cloud on-ramp location, which is already connected in the Google network. So we have essentially a network with what we call point of presence, where PacketFabric is along with Google. And you can easily, like, once you have a port connected into our network, you can easily essentially like create this connection and connect your network on-prem with your VPC in Google. And then just to wrap up the demo here, I have this VPC web demo webinar I created through Terraform as well as interconnect. So here the interconnect is set up, and the last step to do, which I can't do it because I don't have an on-prem network available. But essentially, you can grab the BGP connection and details to set up your router, and then have that link between your on-prem and Google. So that would be it for the demo. Let me switch back to some resources I wanted to share with you, and then we'll jump to the Q&A. So before the Q&A, I'm showing some links. You can, take a screenshot maybe, or it's easy findable on Google. But there is a great tutorial to learn Terraform if you're not very familiar with Terraform. The registry I was showing you, you can easily find on any search engine. I also created a bunch of example and use case which are available on the GitHub to kind of like using some of the resource and data source we have. And a couple more things. If you find any bugs or any issue, or you have any questions, you can always go through the GitHub repo, as you're probably already familiar with. And then any feature request, we have a feedback.packetfabric.com you can use as well. All right. So I think we are in the Q&A section.
All right. Thank you very much, Roman and Michael. We do have some questions, but first I want to know, would you like to remind all of our attendees how they can reach PacketFabric for more information?
Yeah, so for more information, I just switch that slide. You can reach out through LinkedIn. We've got a Twitter, and also like email. Obviously, you can see on the screen. If you have any question, don't hesitate to reach out.
All righty, let's jump into the questions then. The first question we have is, which services can PacketFabric Terraform Provider automate?
So yeah, maybe I can take that one, Michael. So today we support Cloud Router in AWS, and we are gonna release version 0.3 end of the month, which will add support of Google, Azure, and Oracle. But we support today, set up a port like I showed in the demo, also set up a virtual circuit between two ports. Point-to-point is coming in the next release. And we also have support of, the billing, and I think that's where it is for now. Okay.
As a network, as a service, what makes PacketFabric different?
Yeah, I'll take that, and then Robert, you could jump in. So yeah, there are a few others in the industry that offer similar types of services. I think one of the biggest things that really differentiates PacketFabric is we built this network from the ground up as a highly available, right, 5 nines plus, meaning fully redundant network into each of our points of presence. And we also built it at very high speed, right? So we are at 100 gig service in each one of those points of presence. and moving towards plans to even go into 400 gig and above.
Okay, now, one of the things that everyone is concerned about these days is security. Can you discuss security measures that you take with Network as a Service, and how safe and secure are these measures?
Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
So I'm not a security guru, but I can tell you that the PacketFabric network is highly secure as a fully private network. Clearly, I'm sure we could do an offline session to get you all the details on our security of our network. But Roman, I don't know if you have anything you want to jump in with.
Yeah, I mean, just to say, like we have a private network, right? So we're not going through the internet. We have private links between the different pops Michael showed on that map, if you remember at the beginning. So, that adds like the best security you can ever have, right? In terms of like cyber attack or whatsoever.
Okay, you had one of your slides that showed us the cloud providers that you're working with. I'm just wondering if you want to just run down the names of those providers again real fast.
Yeah, so obviously the big three, right? Amazon Web Services, Azure, Google Cloud. We're also Oracle, IBM Cloud, and then a number of kind of X as a service or SaaS providers as well that we connect to that are on our marketplace.
Okay. Michael, you talked a lot about partners and everything, and I'm wondering, what are you looking for in a partner, both on a national level and at an international level?
Yeah, no, good question. Look, it's as I said, we have partners in all kinds of different kind of verticals, so to speak, right? We have managed service providers who want to use our network services to differentiate what they put in marketplace, right, against their competition. We have, as I said, data center operators, we have systems integrators, SIs, you name it, right? So what it really comes down to is, a great partner for us is one that sees our capability as enhancing their value to their end user customer, right? Whatever that means, right? In their business, right? And when that occurs, and you're able to actually put an enhanced value proposition in front of those end user customers, I know then that partner will put in the type of training and diligence to be able to represent our services as part of theirs. But again, it could be anything from just straight resale of our services or referral of your customers to our services, or it could be a full white label, right? Where you're taking our services, you're fully embedding them into your services, and we're just enhancing, again, your ability to get a more rich value proposition in front of your end user customer.
Okay, great. And I think that kind of leads into the next question, which is what kind of benefits can a partner expect by working with PacketFabric?
Yeah, so clearly we have partners that would say that through reselling our services as part of their value proposition, they've increased their market share, right? That's number one, right? Grown their business and increased their market share by differentiating their services versus their competition. That's number one. Number two, certainly we go way out of our way to make sure that as you position these services to your end user customer, you're able to profit by that. And we realize that to be able to do that, obviously we have to financially put in place a model that enables you to do everything from, the investments you need to do to put that service in market and then still derive a profit after that. So, those are the types of things that we would like to see resellers get from our relationship.
Okay, great. I'm going to combine two questions into one, and then we'll wrap it up after this one question that has two actually. Where can I find more information on PacketFabric Terraform Provider, and can I get a free demo of it?
So yeah, so Terraform is free, first of all, and you can create also like log in on the PacketFabric.com and then create an account actually. You can get on it. You don't have to talk to anyone. You can log in, create an account, and then the provider is available. You can Google Terraform Provider and you can see the documentation I was showing you earlier and start using it. Yeah, I don't know, Michael, if you want to add a little more on the ease of access.
No, I think that covers it. And I think you'll see once you get on our site, it is very intuitive and self-service.
All right, well, great. I think then that's going to do it for our webinar. I want to thank our presenters from PacketFabric, Senior Technical Product Manager Roman Johannet, and Chief of Business Development Michael Glickman. Thank you both very much. Now, at this time, I'd like to remind you that CVX Expo 2022 is approaching rapidly. CVX Expo 2022 takes place November 2nd through 4th at the Talking Stick Resort in Scottsdale, Arizona. Attendees get full access to all the educational seminars, the exhibitor floor, all meals and networking opportunities, and the chance to win a $10,000 raffle prize, all for only $199. To register, go to register.cvxexpo.com. And remember, you can access this webinar and all other Channel Vision presentations on demand by visiting our website at channelvisionmag.com. And now from all of us at Channel Vision Magazine and from our friends at PacketFabric, we look forward to seeing you at CVX Expo 2022. Thanks for attending and have a safe and prosperous day.